A very good evening, dear viewers. Welcome to the English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. We will begin with the headlines. On Wednesday at Urugwiro Village, President Kagame chaired a cabinet meeting to review progress on key policy priorities aimed at Rwanda's continued growth and development. Senators have highlighted the need to prioritize key issues such as prison overcrowding and the use of technology to monitor individuals under investigation. My name is Olive Nete, and it's always a pleasure to have you on board. We believe you had a good Wednesday. Let's kick off today's edition with the cabinet resolutions. On Wednesday, 4th March 2026, His Excellency Kagame Paul, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, chaired a cabinet meeting at Urugwiro Village. The cabinet approved the following draft laws: draft organic law governing elections, the draft law governing the National Commission for Human Rights, draft law on virtual assets business, the draft law approving the ratification of the amendment to the financing agreement dated 10th December 2020 between the Republic of Rwanda and the International Fund for Agricultural Development relating to the first and the second additional loans for the Partnership for the Resilient and Inclusive Small Livestock Markets program signed in Kigali on February 24, 2026. The draft law approving the ratification of the amendment to the financing agreement dated 17th December 2021 between the Republic of Rwanda and the International Fund for Agricultural Development relating to the first and second additional loans for Kayonza Irrigation and Integrated Watershed Management Project Phase 2, signed in Kigali on February 24, 2026. The Cabinet approved the following orders: the Ministerial Order granting release on parole to 1,874 convicts, the Ministerial Order relating to modalities of public finance management, the Presidential Order governing the Higher Education Council, the Prime Minister's Order determining the organizational structure of the Higher Education Council, the Prime Minister's Order establishing special statute governing employees of Financial Intelligence Center, the Ministerial Order relating to industrial property security provided for application of suspension of suspected counterfeit goods and fee payable for service of protection and intellectual property, Ministerial Order determining modalities for the collection and distribution of remunerations and other proceeds from the exploitation of works, copyrights, and related rights. The Cabinet approved the following policies, strategies, and programs: the National Anti-Money Laundering, Counter-Financing of Terrorism, and Counter-Proliferation Financing AML/CFT/CPF policy, applications for mineral and quarry licenses, agreement for development of housing units between the Government of Rwanda and the Bohos International Rwanda Limited, lease of the state land in private domain to Kivu Waterfront Limited for investment purposes. The Cabinet granted agreement to proposed diplomats representing countries as follows: Mr. Henrik Nilsson, Ambassador of Sweden to the Republic of Rwanda with residence in Kigali; Mr. Tinyiko George Hulgwane, High Commissioner of the Republic of South Africa to the Republic of Rwanda with residence in Kigali; Mr. Juan Humberto Marcias Pino, Ambassador of the Republic of Cuba to the Republic of Rwanda with residence in Kampala. The Cabinet approved the following appointments: the National Bank of Rwanda Board of Directors, Mr. Mukete Diko Jacob, he is a member; Ms. Dushimire Alice, she is also a member; Mr. Senyigumuremyi Siridion, he is a member; Ms. Nabasa Judith, she is a member; Mr. Mwizerwa Jean-Claude, he is a member; Dr. Batamuriza Jennifer, she is a member; and Ms. Muhongerwa K. Judith, she is a member. In the Appeal Tribunal for Refugees and Applicants for Refugee Status, Ms. Mukabagwiza Eda, she is the co-president; Mr. Rusanganwa Jean Damascene, he is the co-president; Ms. Mukanyundo Patricie, she is a member; Ms. Nyirinkwaya Immaculée, she is also a member; Mr. Rudasingwa Joseph is also a member; Mr. Mukama Augustine, he is a member; Mr. Ndavirora Kalinda Jean Damascene, he is the registrar. In the Ministry of Local Government, Mr. Ingabire Jean-Claude, he's the Director General of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Ms. Mukoga Justine, Executive Secretary, National Council of Persons with Disabilities. Ms. Uwimanimhaye Jean d'Arc, Coordinator, Gitagata Rehabilitation Center. Mr. Bizimana Sevelien, Coordinator, Ngarama Rehabilitation Center. In the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Biraro Mirei, she is the Registrar of Land Titles. Mr. Twizeyezu Jean-Pierre, Registrar of Land Titles. Mr. Uwaisenga Vedast, Registrar of Land Titles. Ms. Kanyamugenge Akimana Adeline, she is the Division Manager for Inspection at National Land Authority. In the Rwanda Mines, Petroleum and Gas Board, Mr. Uwiduhaye Jean d'Amour is the Head of Department of Mines, Petroleum and Gas Exploration. Ms. Muhorakeye Alice, Division Manager of Mining Extraction and Inspection. Mr. Maniragaba Ephraim, Division Manager of Mining Exploration. Ms. Kanhengwa Catherine, Division Manager of Mining, Cadastre and Digital Information. In other business discussed, the Minister of Gender and Family Promotion informed the Cabinet of the following: the celebration of International Women's Day scheduled for 8th March 2026. She also informed the Cabinet on Rwanda's participation in the 70th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women from the 9th to 19th March 2026. The Minister of Defense informed the Cabinet of the 3-month citizen outreach program to be launched on March 9th, 2026. This annual program is a joint partnership between security organs, local government authorities, and citizens. The Minister of ICT and Innovation informed Cabinet of Rwanda to host the International Astronautical Federation Global Space Conference on Climate Change, scheduled from the 2nd to the 6th June 2026. And this was done Kigali, 4th March 2026, digitally signed by Dr. Nsengiyumva Justin, the Prime Minister of Rwanda. To other matters, senators have highlighted the need to prioritize key issues such as prison overcrowding, the use of technology to monitor individuals under investigation. These matters are central to the latest report of the National Commission for Human Rights. Let's take a look at the details. While various reports indicate that Rwanda is performing well in the protection of human rights, certain gaps remain. These include prison overcrowding, the lack of awareness among children and vulnerable individuals about their right to free legal representation, known as pro bono services, and prolonged stays in temporary holding facilities, commonly referred to as transit centers. During a plenary session reviewing the 2024-2025 annual report of the National Commission for Human Rights, the Senate Committee on Social Affairs and Human Rights questioned the Commission on progress made in addressing these challenges. Senators also inquired about the use of technology in monitoring suspects and managing special cases, including issues concerning women. Honorable Adri Umuhire, chairperson of the Senate Committee on Social Affairs and Human Rights, confirmed that all the issues highlighted in the Commission's report are being actively addressed. The 2024-2025 report was compiled following visits to 12 prisons, 114 Rwandan Investigation Bureau detention facilities, 28 transit centers, 3 rehabilitation centers, and mental health hospitals. The report shows measurable progress. For example, prison overcrowding has decreased to 103.8%, down from 110% in June of the previous year, representing a 24% reduction compared to the 140% rate recorded in 2023-2024. This demonstrates the government's ongoing efforts to improve conditions within the justice and detention systems. Moving ahead, during discussions held on Wednesday between the Rwandan and French parliamentarians as part of the Rwanda-France Parliamentary Friendship Group, it was highlighted that Rwanda's achievements serve as a model internationally for promoting gender equality. This progress stems from the country's comprehensive national policies, as noted by Honorable Muzana Alice, chairperson of the Rwanda-France Parliamentary Friendship Group in the Rwandan Parliament. On the French side, Aurélien Rousseau, a member of the French Parliament, commended Rwanda's policies in establishing institutions that ensure women's representation at all levels, including local governance. He emphasized that women's role in rebuilding the country after the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi was particularly inspiring. Rwanda has made significant strides in promoting gender equality and women's empowerment. Today, the country ranks first globally in the proportion of women in parliament, with women representing over 60% of the Chamber of Deputies. The government has implemented policies ensuring that all girls have access to education. Additionally, Rwanda has reformed family and land laws to guarantee that women have equal rights to property and inheritance. These measures confirm that following the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, Rwandan women enjoy full rights and play a central role in the nation's political, social, and economic life. Now to regional security matters. Political and regional security analysts argue that cooperation between the Democratic Republic of Congo and the FDLR armed group in undermining peace initiatives signals that efforts to resolve insecurity in the Great Lakes region may remain ineffective as long as the group continues to operate. We have details. Ambassador Urujeni Bakuramutsa, Rwanda's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, addressed the UN Human Rights Council on the protracted insecurity that has affected the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo for more than 3 decades. She highlighted the direct role of the Democratic Republic of the Congo in collaborating with the terrorist group FDLR.
The persistent presence of the FDLR is a clear factor that has been documented as undermining regional stability. The FDLR is mainly made up of former members of the Rwanda Armed Forces and the Interahamwe militia responsible for the genocide against the Tutsis of 1994, just a few decades ago. They have faced a Security Council arms embargo and sanctions. However, they are supported by the DRC government and have been included in the Congolese armed forces in violation of the pertinent resolutions of the Security Council. Neutralizing the FDLR is the primary responsibility of the DRC, and they have recognized that responsibility in the process of African Union mediation and in the Washington Accords. The stability of the Great Lakes region requires a honest analysis of the deep causes of the conflict and the full exercise of national responsibility.
Alice Werimunderitu, who served as the United Nations Secretary General's Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide, has repeatedly highlighted the impact caused by the FDLR in the region, particularly among Congolese who speak Kinyarwanda. She noted that the government of Congo has not shown willingness to dismantle the FDLR.
I've been worried about the ideology that has been carried to the DRC, ideology that was carried there after the genocide happened here in 1994, when we had quite a large number of genocidaires moving to DRC, and that this ideology has been passed on from parent to child. And so I've been speaking about that consistently, that the ideology that led to the genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda, was framed then here in Rwanda in the language that we now call hate speech. And we see it in the DRC as well. And I myself met the refugees, the Congolese Tutsi refugees here in this country in Rwanda. And so when I met them, I told them, I'm not going to keep quiet about what's happening to you, because this office, when it was created, the Security Council said, we are creating the office of the Special Advisor on the Prevention of Genocide to avoid a genocide like that happened against the Tutsi in Rwanda. So it cannot be the case that I would be quiet when I see these kind of things happening. So I'm very, very clear that hate speech against the Congolese Tutsi has to stop in their country. But more importantly, we have to address the root causes of this hate speech, that genocide ideology, and the fact that we have so many people who are indicted by the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, who are living free lives in many parts of the world, including in the DRC.
Lawyer Bernard Manguin says that attacks targeting the Banyamulenge and other Congolese of Tutsi ethnicity in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo are largely fueled by hate speech that is used and supported by senior leaders in the Congolese government, while the international community just watches. Researcher and political analyst in the Great Lakes region, Bojana Coulibaly, states that the sanctions imposed by the United States on Rwanda Defense Force, as long as the FDLR continues to operate freely on Congolese territory.
FDLR continued to recruit and train local armed groups such as Nyatura, while continuing to perpetuate violence. Other armed groups emerged, and Eastern DRC became a theater of insecurity and violence. By 2022, we saw a resurgence of the same conflict dynamics. The Trump administration has essentially repeated this playbook, punishing Kigali while treating Kinshasa as a default partner, and again ignoring the structural drivers of 30 years of cyclical violence.
In a statement posted on X, Rwanda's government spokesperson Yolande Makolo described the DRC government as the principal backer of the FDLR, which Rwanda considers a major security threat. She argued that efforts to shift responsibility or obscure Kinshasa's support for the group would not resolve the underlying crisis. The government spokesperson further maintained that unilateral sanctions, rather than addressing root causes, risk reinforcing a military-first approach by the DRC government. According to her, this dynamic has contributed to ongoing hostilities, rising violence, diminished prospects for dialogue, and continued civilian suffering. Moving ahead, over 122,000 women across Rwanda have been trained under the Genda Nakoni project, a collaborative initiative led by the National Bank of Rwanda together with other partners. The project encourages women to use mobile phones to access financial services. To support this, over the past 3 years, around 32,000 mobile money agents have been trained nationwide. Let's explore the report. On Wednesday, the project was officially launched in Kamonyi district. In this district, 3% of adults do not have access to formal financial services, while another 4% participate in savings groups but do not interact with financial institutions. Among those not reached by formal services, the majority are women, particularly in mobile payment usage, where female participation lags behind men. The Kamonyi launch aims to increase women's participation in mobile financial services, empowering them to improve their financial independence. Local women leaders pledged to expand access to mobile financial services for women in the district. Within the first 2 months, approximately 1,500 women in Kamonyi will be connected to the Genda Nakoni platform. Kamonyi is the 20th district where the National Bank of Rwanda has launched this initiative. Bernard Nsengiyumva, Acting Executive Director of Financial Stability Directorate at the National Bank of Rwanda, emphasized the importance of ensuring sustainable access to financial services. The Genda Nakoni project, which began in 2022, is scheduled to conclude this year and will reach 21 districts, with Nyamagabe remaining as the final district. Currently, the Central Bank of Rwanda reports that only 72% of women use mobile payment services compared to 81% of men, highlighting the need to focus on women's financial inclusion. Now to Rwanda's tech sector, young people who have developed various technology projects say that the support they receive from the National Council for Science and Technology played a major role in enabling them to create projects that provide solutions within the country. Enola Gradis has the report.
Young people who were supported by the National Council for Science and Technology, enabling them to gain the capacity to implement projects they had been working on for some time, including drone technology, agriculture, and other initiatives. The Result and Evaluation Advisor Grace Anyembu explained the key reasons why they sponsored this project.
One of the startups that we've been able to fund at the University of Rwanda has been an AI innovation hub and an Internet of Things innovation hub. So that's actually helping test innovations and then help them think about scaling them up. But we've also provided training for them to learn skills about not just learning how to do your innovation, but how do you then market it? How do you then get funding to actually scale it up so it moves from just being an idea. We've seen improved yield, we've seen value chains being created. So that's one example where we've actually seen that. But we've also had work, for instance, like the Angel Playbook, where we put in material out to help investors think about where you would like to invest, what you would want to invest in, and how that can help create the funding that startups need to actually then scale up their inventions and then take that to market. Research and Innovation Systems for Africa project is a project that we have funded since 2020. And it works to bring research from universities into actual tangible actions that would work for the society. So for instance, we have a project called Farm to Fork, where we've supported innovations to actually increase the yield of like potato seeds, to actually improve the yields, but also then take those seeds to market. So it's taking research and innovation from universities into the market and helping consumers.
The Director General of the National Council for Science and Technology, Dr. Eugene Mutimura, highlights that in collaboration with universities, they have been able to turn research findings into practical projects, noting that the main challenge young people often face is a lack of financial resources.
The principal goal actually of these projects is support research and innovation to flourish in the country, both by funding us to ensure that we develop required strategies, but also ensure that we continue our journey and our goals to ensure that researchers and innovators are linked with private sector and industry to do research that results into entrepreneurial results. And that's very critical and important for us. And so we have been funded with over 700 million in total over time. The clear outcome of this fund is that we have put up a research and innovation repository. That is a platform that is online, where researchers and innovators can put their output so that everybody globally understands what Rwanda is doing in the area of research and innovation. And so people can learn from these platforms, people can contribute their work, people can put their work in terms of publications, innovations and output, and that's very important for learning process to continuously work.
Various projects, including those in technology, agriculture and other sectors, have been supported over the past 2 years. A total of 126 projects have received support, costing more than 700 million Rwandan francs.
Now back to Rwanda's financial sector, our colleague William Evans had a conversation with Darius Mukiza of BK Capital, unpacking key financial instruments that many Rwandans hear about but don't always fully understand, from the government and corporate bonds to unit trusts and fixed deposits. What do they really mean for you as an investor?
How these work, how do bonds work, how do unity trusts work, but also how do fixed deposits work for people that are willing to begin their savings or even their investments. Where should they go? Where is the big deal? And that is a conversation you want us to have. Let's begin by understanding what these actually mean in simple terms.
Okay. In simple terms, I'll begin with fixed deposits. So fixed deposits is lending to the bank now. So when you have money, let's say you're not using for a period, you can go to the bank and say, I have this money, I want to give it to you. What rate will you give me? How will you reward me for giving you this money for this period? Now, when you give the money to the bank in such terms, you call it a fixed deposit. The bank accepts your money. You negotiate actually on the rate, depending on how much you have, the relationship you have with this bank or microfinance or whatever financial institution that allows their taking deposits. And then when you agree on the rate, they take your money and they will give you or reward you with an interest. So we call that a fixed deposit. It's fixed for a certain period, and they will reward you with an interest.
Does that relate in any way with fixed accounts, those things of fixed bank accounts where you put your money but you can't withdraw until maybe 5 years or 20 years?
Yes. So yes. So normally, traditionally, like when you have money on a current account, because a current account you're transacting on it periodically, they would move money from your current account into an account you can call fixed account. So they, depending on the banking system or the software or whatever they use, they move money from, now it's not available for use, and they lock it into an account in your name, and you cannot touch it for that period you agreed. So when the period expires, the money is now released to your current account. Now you can use it, and they normally do that with the interest that you agreed on. So normally for the fixed deposits, money, the locked money and the interest, they pay you at the end of that period. It's paid once everything has matured. Money and interest is released to your account. Now the current account, which is now makes the money available for your use. For the bonds, bonds again, I'll use in simple terms, is lending to the government or an institution. So the bonds issued by the central bank, we call them treasury bonds. This is money the government borrows from the public through the central bank. And they are issued, they are issued with different terms. It can be a bond of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And when the government needs money, they issue those bonds. And people now lend to the government, and they pay normally every 6 months. So a bond can be, say, a bond of 5 years can be at 10%. They say we'll give you 10% every year of your money, and they normally pay that 10% twice in a year, half, 5% every 6 months. So that is what we call a bond. It's the same principle even corporations use. They need money, they want to raise capital, they borrow from the public. Now we call that a corporate bond. The third one, the unit trust, the one you asked, is also a way, it is a fund managers pool money from the investors into a pool, and it's invested, and these people who have invested or who have bought units, now they are called units, like that money is portioned into units, and now if you put money into that trust, you buy units into that pool. The money is invested by the fund manager, and once that money earns interest, it is distributed to the unit holders. So that is called a unit trust. So unit trusts can also be different. They can pay interest depending on the performance of the fund manager. For them, they don't guarantee interest. It depends on how the investment manager is able to invest that money. So normally, when they are setting up that trust, they say money we pool will be investing it in these instruments or in these assets. And depending on how the manager is able to move money from, depending on which assets are earning, whatever money is earned is the money which is distributed to the unit holders. Yeah. So the difference between these is that bonds and term deposits, for them, you already know the interest. We call it fixed income. You know it is going to earn me this money in this period. For unit trusts, it depends on the performance of the trust, of the manager. If the manager is very experienced, knows his trade, is able to invest very well, earn good interest, and you can get the interest depending on the performance.
A warm thank you, dear viewers, for staying with us throughout the edition. We wish you a restful night.